Hello and welcome to episode 357 of the Board Game Barrage podcast. My name is Mark. I am the green tank. I am joined, as always, by Cal in the red tank.
Hello.
Neil in the orange tank.
Hello.
And Christina makes her return, the blue tank.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey, everybody. We are back. We are feeling extra close, extra warm, extra connected because
tired.
Extra tired.
Extra tired.
Extra tired because we recently
played
a
bunch of
games together.
Oh my god.
Kellen, why didn't you participate in that?
Because I was excited about Neelan doing it, and then I was like, I can't join in.
Yeah. No, that's fine. That would not be a Kellen thing to do, to join in that.
I was excited to
it.
hear it.
I respect
I was smiling.
Are you sad that Mark and I joined in and ruined Neelan's beautiful voice?
It's like, I was like, oh, look at Neelan. That's cute. And then all of a sudden you were shouting next to me. But that's sort of like, Mark, there's this thing in your house. You have a very nice house, right? All these many floors and many games.
Sure.
And you'd think the games would be good at soundproofing your house.
Right.
No matter where I am at in your house, I can hear Christina out loud.
What are you talking about?
And again, for those who've been to your house, it's a very nice house, very thick walls, the best insulation.
Yeah,
like this is
right.
not a mark
We really
on the
packed
house.
the insulation in there. Yeah.
You're saying when you were playing games on floor 2, you could hear me on floor 1?
I knew everything you were doing.
This is a little weird. I don't know what's going on here.
As much as I'd like to unpack that more, I think it's probably best to, indeed, we were all together for Dice Tower West, either at my place or at the West Gate, where the Dice Tower West convention was being held. And as Neelan said, we played a bunch of games. And today, we are going to go over some of the highlights. Maybe a couple of lowlights, but I think mostly we're going to stick to the highlights here. Am I right? You guys feeling highlighty, right?
Yeah. Mostly positive.
Highlighty, little lowlighty. We're going to rapid fire.
That's right. That's right. So let's get on that firing line and start going. Who wants to start it off?
I'll jump in here because this is one that I came away very excited about. This is Totally Human, which was kindly taught to us by Kyle at Bitewing. This was in their most recent Kickstarter. Unfortunately, that Kickstarter is finished, but I assume you're going to be able to add it to any future all-play pledge, and I think you may want to after this description because I really, really, really enjoyed it. So if you like party games, if you like silly games that get conversations going with a little bit of a lot of shouting in our cases, then Totally Human might be for you. The premise of this game, which is designed by Casper Lapp, who, if you're not familiar, is the designer of That's Not a Hat, Fun Facts, just really great party game bangers, all of them that feel quite different from each other. One of the things that's so amazing about Casper Lapp is he comes out of left field with an idea you've never seen before, usually a small, fun party idea, and it's just executed perfectly. And this game, to me, was no exception. So Totally Human, the premise broadly is that you have all of the players are either going to be humans or aliens. And up to 5 people, I got this slightly wrong when I explained it, but up to 5 people have a chance of being an alien. So if you're in a 7-player game, there could be 0 to 5 aliens in that group. What the aliens...
What? Yeah. You're saying we couldn't have all been aliens?
We couldn't have all been aliens, unfortunately.
You lied to us?
I lied to us. I realized this afterwards. That doesn't actually make any sense mathematically. There's only 5 alien cards in the deck. So.
I was going to make fun of you for how you mathematically realized it later, but this is a pretty simple proof that you've put together.
It's not exactly complex trigonometry I was doing. But so basically everyone gets dealt 3 cards, and those 3 cards have 3 numbers on them. And if you're the human, you can ignore those numbers. But if you are an alien, then those numbers are very, very important. Because what's going to happen next is you're going to have to answer a series of 3 questions. And these questions are quite silly because they involve semi-randomized answers, a randomized adjective and a randomized person, place, thing, what have you. So it could be, which of these is funniest to say? Fluffy banana, sharp hamburger, curious umbrella, for example. This is one of the examples we had in our first game. Everyone is going to vote one of those options on that card. Which of those phrases do you think is funniest? If you're the alien, you have to use one of the 3 numbers in your cards. In fact, over the course of those 3 questions, you must use all 3 of your numbers in any order. So you get quite restricted, and you get even more restricted as you go. If you're a human, you're just answering naturally, whatever makes the most sense to you. We all reveal, we put out our things, and then we kind of look around the table and be like, oh, interesting. Christina thinks that curious umbrella was the best answer. Mark thinks that sharp dog was the best answer. That's pretty weird, Mark. Why would you put that as the correct answer? And instantly we all might think that Mark is a little bit of an alien.
We'll get into Mark's answers later. We'll get into Mark's answers.
Yeah,
later.
well, I think Mark will be very interested in litigating some specifics in a little bit. So let's come back to that. But once you do this 3 times, you have some sense of who is answering truthfully and who is maybe trying to deceive you about what they actually think the answers are. And then you all get into little rocket ships. You put your figurines out. You're trying to get into a rocket ship with only humans on your ship. If you're a human, of course. If you're an alien, you're trying to get into a ship with humans so that you can eat the humans. If an alien launches in a ship with another human, they win. Any humans that launch together alone with only humans, the biggest ship of players wins. So there are multiple winners, potentially. It's a very silly, funny sort of exercise in saying, like, no, we're not going to allow Mark onto our ship because of his ridiculous answer. For instance, Mark.
Yeah, let's do this now. Okay,
let's do this.
I think we all really enjoyed the game. I enjoyed the game as well, despite a situation, a very tense situation that happened where we had a question come up. Was it what is best for battle or
what is best in a battle? I think
best in a battle. Okay.
What is most helpful in a battle?
Most helpful in battle. Sure. Okay. So there have been 2 previous questions,
and this was the was the 3rd question, which is super important because the 3rd question you're most likely to be limited if you're an alien. So it's the one you're most likely.
The alien has no other choice.
You're most likely to have a weird answer if you're an alien.
Right. The alien is forced to answer something and then forced to defend it. So I think it's important to set the scene because my first 2 answers matched perfectly with Christina and Neelan. So they were...
And Neelan and I determined we were both definitely humans.
Right. Based on their first 2 answers. And in such...
And our 3rd.
And, I would say that the first 2 were fundamental in laying the foundation that you were both humans. And so I was in that same foundation. I think it's inarguable to say that. I was right there with you. So then a question came, what is best in battle, right? I forgot what Neelan said, but best in battle, I believe. And there were a number of answers. There are 5 answers whenever you do one of these. 2 of them were garbage answers, and the people who answered them, we immediately all agreed they were aliens, and sure, that's fine. The other answers were, so best in battle, there was rough towel, twinkling flip-flops, and crumbly sunglasses. Okay, those are the 3 answers. Now, listener, before we go on, I want you to take a moment. Feel free to pause this podcast and try to put those in the order you think that are best in battle. Again, best in battle, we've got
most helpful in battle.
Well, let's go with the question as written. What are we agreeing that it's on?
I think it was most helpful in the battle.
Most helpful in battle. Okay, sure. Okay, most helpful in battle. So you've got rough towel, you've got twinkling flip-flops, and you've got crumbly sunglasses. Okay, I'm going to trust that you've taken a moment to answer, to put those in the order that you think are correct. Now, I will say, let's get to the heart of it. I selected twinkling flip-flops. Now.
Incorrect.
Now, this was met with complete disdain and complete questioning of my...
not disdain. More like he's definitely an alien.
Yeah, right.
He thinks...
Yeah, a human would disdain the answers of an alien. And I think
human would never do this.
Yeah, right. A human would never do this. Now, I will say, and both of you selected rough towel, right? That's correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I will say, in the interest of transparency, full transparency, that I have asked a number of people since then because I was so upset by it, and I was upset by how dismissive you were of my answer. I've asked a number of people, and to be fair, most of them, maybe all of them, but certainly most of them, have agreed that rough towel was the best answer. However, there is no consensus about whether twinkling flip-flops or crumbly sunglasses were better. Okay? And so I'll let the listeners know I had twinkling flip-flops. Okay. I think my logic still holds up. I'm unfazed in that. I'm not backing down from my position. And yet I was just like impossible to be a human based on that answer. And I just think that's ridiculous.
It's so funny, Mark, because I was on a spaceship with another human who had answered crumbling flip-flops.
No, crumbling sunglasses.
Crumbling sunglasses.
Right.
And like I was an alien because that was a answer.
Right.
And I had convinced him that we had a good answer together and he was a human.
Right.
And like I agreed with you like at least 80 to 90%.
Right.
Like 80 to 90% I agree with you. And you're just sitting there like frantically, getting more and more irate, trying to get someone to agree with you. And I agreed with you, but I couldn't say
I appreciate
because
that.
I was on a ship ready to blast off and eat Cameron.
Yeah.
Like
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I really
and so
appreciate that.
Yeah, you're just like sitting there. Am I the crazy one?
Right.
Am I the crazy one?
Exactly.
And I'm like, well, he's
Exactly.
Yeah.
God,
and I'm
Kellen,
like, well,
you have
winning
done,
the game
Kellen, I just
is
want to
more
say
important.
Before you go on, Kellen, I just want to say you've done so much for me just in that statement. So I really appreciate it because I felt like I was going insane.
Well, it's like your partner Roselle comes home and immediately is accosted by this question.
Yeah.
And she completely did not help your case at all. It was so
she
funny.
ranked them and she was
funny.
like, yeah, if I had to rank them, I would say 1 rough towel, 2 crumbly sunglasses, 3 twinkling flip-flops.
Did not help.
And I just kept saying you could use the glass from the sunglasses, like which is like the stupidest.
But it is. It did convince all of us when he said that. We were like, oh, you could use the glass from the broken sunglasses.
Right.
I hadn't considered that.
I mean, if
if
it's a twinkly flip-flop, there's presumably some sort of glass in there.
That's true. It's possible.
It does. This game has some feels bad elements to it. Again, I really liked it and probably will pick it up. But like, the thing I love the most was actually once you were on a ship with someone and someone else, Nealon's like, oh, Kellen, can I get on your ship? And you're just like holding up your hand because you have a big button to like blast off. And as soon as both of you hit the button, you're out of there. And then you like shoot your ship away. So like,
it's really funny.
But like, it feels a little pick me, like you're getting picked last or whatever, and you're like, and like really at the end, people start having to make like more desperate partnerships that they know are like halfway there, but like you're like, well, I got the hell out of here like 20 minutes ago in this negotiation.
Which is
I don't know.
Which is exactly what happened to me. Like I knew that I was a human, and I knew that the two people who wanted a partner were both aliens. But based on the way the game works, I had to be on a ship with two people, and I was like, okay, what is the less alien-y answer? Knowing full well that I was probably going to get eaten on the plane, and sure enough, that's what happened. I got on a plane with an alien.
Well, and the other funny thing is that Nealon and I were 100% convinced that we were both humans, and so we obviously got on a ship together immediately. And then we were kind of like, Mark might be human, but we don't need him to win.
Sure.
We felt we felt fairly confident that we could win with just the two of us.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like those types of decisions too that are really sad, but also funny.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's really, really good. I think it's almost got 2 micro games in it, like in its phases, like the kind of the Ito conversation starter and then the little social deduction phase of like, who are you going to let on you? You know, like it works really, really well. I do agree with Kellen that it can have some feels bad in the moments of like, you're not an alien, you're just answering weirdly. And if everyone is like calling you out on that, then that is not great, unfortunately. But I think that's inherent a little bit in social deduction to some extent, like, you know, but it's...
Yeah, and it also has I think a couple of games it was like really obvious who was an alien pretty early on, and then that person just got written off for the rest of the game. And like that doesn't feel good either,
right.
you know? And so like you can see, but it's so short.
Totally.
Maybe that doesn't matter.
Exactly. Like this is a 10-minute game that you could just play back to back. So anyway, that's probably enough said about Totally Human.
Yeah, so much for rapid fire, highlight, low light.
All right. I want to talk about my personal game of the con. And I fear that I will not be believed because I am a shill for this game, given that I have drafted it in our most anticipated auction. But this is Dark Pact by one Mr. Tom Lehman. I played it 3 times over the course of the weekend, which is pretty unheard of for me at 3 players twice and then at 2 players. I think this is essentially a deck builder. It's essentially
unheard of for you at a con, I think is what you meant to say.
Yes. Unheard of for me at a con. What did I say?
You just said unheard of for me. And like that makes it sound like...
Unheard of for me in one weekend at a con. Dark Pact is essentially a deck builder a la Dominion, where there are multiplier cards. The two twists are there are multiplier cards, which multiply every value that is visible on a card. So if a card says +1 action, +1 card, and you multiply it times 2, or you multiply it times 2 and times 3, you could get 6x those actions. You could get 20x those actions, which is crazy and feels like you've broken the game, which is awesome. And then the other twist is that there are 13 endgame conditions that are held on the Dark Pact cards, the titular Dark Pact cards. And those say, if you ever have 30 unspent gold, you win the game immediately. If you ever, I believe, have your entire deck played, you win the game. If you have 20 unused actions, you win the game. So you have to have that Dark Pact out, and you have to have that condition met, and you instantly win the game. Not every card is unique, but there are 10 cards in a market, and you're exiling cards, you're trashing cards, you're moving things around. This is one that I am excited to explore more. I'm excited for expansions. I know I hate being that guy. Expansions and deck builders are the only thing that go together in my mind. Everything else is bad. But when it's cards, give me more cards. I want more cards for my Dark Pact game. I think I can predict very accurately what all of you will say about Dark Pact, which is that keeping track of the actions is kind of fiddly. And I say to you, sir and madams, all you care about is me not winning this auction, because this was clearly the best game of the con. Dark Pact, really loved it. I did hear mixed things from BGBers playing it. I really liked it. I'm really eager to play it more.
Neelan had a great solution, actually, for the action count problem, which was just math. So
stop
there's a
saying
solution.
that math is the solution. Neelan. It's not. We're done with math.
I really like this as well. Like, it pains me a little bit because of the fact that I'm effectively in competition with this game for the rest of the year. But like, I really, really love this. This was one of my highlights of the weekend for sure. I kept describing it to people as like Dominion on steroids, like in all the ways I like Kellen described, where it's just like you rapidly are getting to turns where you're like draw 20, actions 20, and then you're just doing everything in your deck, or at least half of your deck. I liked drafting a win condition. I thought that was really, really cool. I do think that like it's definitely a I'm doing my own thing on my turn type of game, and which is why I can see why maybe better at 2 than a lot more than that, but I really liked it.
Yeah, it was one of those games where I was like, look at my cool turn, and nobody was paying attention to me because they were so concerned with their next turn, which kind of annoys me, to be honest, when that happens in a game. Like, I like a game where you have to like be paying attention and interested in what your opponents are doing, for one. For two, I think that this is a game that rewards multiple plays. I did not have the honor of playing it 3 times. I only played it once. And I spent the entire game just trying to understand, because, you know, we didn't like go through what the cards were before we started. It was kind of just like figure it out as you go along. I spent the entire game just trying to figure out what the cards were that I was like potentially buying, and like what combos I potentially wanted to create, and what win et cetera, et cetera. And so for me, it was not that enjoyable of an experience, but I could see myself liking it once I was more familiar with the cards. But yeah, it does kind of annoy me when I'm sitting there like, okay, nobody cares what I'm doing.
Yeah. I agree with basically everything that's been said. It's a deck builder where that gets you to the super fun, crazy combo, crazy actions, like crazy powerful aspect of deck building really, really quickly. And so that's very fun. You know, before you know what you've got 15 actions or 15, you're just doing a bunch of crazy stuff. And that feels really, really fun. But as people have mentioned, because you've got a lot to do and you're sort of like trying to keep in your head what you should be going for and what you're getting at, it can be a little multiplayer solitaire-ish, but still very, very fun for sure.
Definitely agree. I think the rub of like knowing that someone else is going to want a Dark Pact, like you have to be paying attention enough to try to like delete or exile the win conditions that other players are going for, and that feels like the most substantive player interaction. There is like a curse system similar to Dominion. But yeah, I my favorite win was when there's a separate win condition if the deck runs out. And I found these 2 cards that let me delete every card in the tableau. And if you end the game there, you actually like subtract your positive cards from your cursed negative cards. And Christina and Neelan did not see it coming. And then all of a sudden I won the game with like 2 positive affinity points. And I was proud of myself. So I just wanted to end. It's not a bombastic story, but just a proud dad.
Yeah.
You were proud of yourself a lot this con, Kellen.
No. I went on a historic losing streak.
In
I would say
fact,
this was the
this might have been the
worst.
first game you won, if I remember correctly, playing Dark Pact with
Oh,
Christina
that's
and
why
I.
you were so happy.
We were rigging party games to try to help me
Get a win.
And even with everyone banding against Neelan, I couldn't even get a tie in the like right words on a
Subjective.
card answer party game. I was down bad a day and a half into this thing. That is Dark Pact by Mr. Lehman, one that I would buy any expansion for sight unseen right now. Please tell me there are expansions. Let's go, Mr. Lehman. Stop with Res Arcana. You know, Res Arcana was a blip in the road. We're at Dark Pact now.
Mark, do you want to do a game or do you want me to go?
You can go.
And I think, Mark, you would be up to try to like tease out some differences with Spectaculum, which I think I have played now that I look back at it. Because you've played it, yeah? And
I've
covered
played it. It's been a while back, but wait,
Yeah,
you're talking about Spectaculum?
Yes, he keeps
Okay.
saying spectaculum.
Okay.
I don't know. It's not a real word. Why are you mocking me?
Well, I think
It's literally like abracadabra.
You
Spakalaka.
you sounded out spectaculum.
I don't know.
All right, I am going to be talking to you all about Gold Country. I think I was the only one who had the joy of playing this game. So I will be telling you all about it. Kyle from Bitewing taught us this game, me and some friends of the podcast. This is Reiner Knizia's like take on a train game. Without the trains, it is Gold Rush themed. This is a redesign of his game Spectaculum, also known as Spectaculum, which
Okay, how do you pronounce this?
Spectaculum.
They're making fun of me.
I mean,
right
I
now.
don't know. It could be.
It's not a real word.
Spectaculum. It could
Yeah,
be.
It could
I've
be anything.
never heard
We
it-
need to ask
I've
the
never
only
heard
true
of-
and living doctor.
Never heard of
That's the only way to find out. So Mark is, I think Mark is the only one who has played Spectaculum. Now we're just going to call it Spectaculum.
Sure.
But so he can comment on that based on my description. But from what I can tell, the theme of Gold Country is much better than Spectaculum, and it has a better name. The theme is exactly what it sounds like. We are in Gold Rush, California. And we are mining. We're buying and selling shares of mining companies. And of course, we are manipulating the fate of those mining companies pretty much every turn. So I think what I loved about this game is how simple the rules are. I mean, we learned this game probably in 10 to 15 minutes, and how fast the whole game plays. It is very colorful and beautiful. Every player starts with like a secret share, which is like a slight incentive, but it's not so large that it's like determining your entire game. Every turn, you are drawing 3 tents from the bag. You are placing those tents in a path, essentially, that has the normal adjacency rules. And when you place one of your tents, you are replacing a little tile. And there are tons of different powers that these tiles have. The majority of them are either plus a certain amount of money that the share will be worth, or minus a certain amount of money that the share will be worth. And so you are manipulating the share price as you place your little tents. And I thought this was a lot of fun. I thought there was a lot of flexibility every turn, which I really enjoyed. There's a little, what is it called? It's like not the hardware store. There's like a little store where you can...
Trading house, I think it's called.
Yeah, it's something like that, where there's a free trade you can make. If you pull out 3 tents and you really, let's say you have one of each color and you really want to have 2 of a specific color, and you see that the trading house or whatever it's called has it, you can just trade it for free. And that's really nice, because even if you don't have a ton of money, it gives you a little more flexibility in terms of what you're just randomly drawing from the bag. There are also cards that you can buy on your turn that let's say, again, you don't have the perfect draw that you want. For $3, you can buy the exact tent color that you want. So you can make these decisions on your turn that do give you more control, but it is a pretty tactical game, I would say. And yeah, it was super fun. It was super fast. It was a little bit mean in a way that I thought was fun, but I also felt really bad because I ruined somebody's game. But again, it was such a short game. Like, I think that's okay. I hope it's okay. I hope it didn't ruin our friend's experience forever. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I wish I could ask what you all thought, but you haven't played it. So hopefully you'll play it soon. And Mark, does that sound very similar to Spectaculum?
It sounds similar, but not necessarily like super similar. It has been, I'm looking back now, it has been almost 4 years since I last played Spectaculum. I will say that according to my records, I crushed in that game. So now I'm obviously anti any changes that have been made to the game.
I think the only option now is to me and you.
Yeah.
Go head to head.
Mono
Country.
Gold Country, right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I was actually looking at the game and trying to real quickly go through the rules to see if anything jumped out at me. One thing I will say, in just looking at the game, and you know, it kind of feels like a Quo Vadis, to refer to another Reiner Knizia game, a Quo Vadis moving to Zoo Vadis. This seems like very close to what's going on with Spectaculum and Gold Country, because first of all, the Spectaculum, I keep saying Spectaculum like I'm being serious. Spectaculum was very, very sort of like flimsy. It was not like right on the table. It wasn't great production. Gold Country is light years better. So there's something to be said. Also, much like the way that Zoo Vadis, like all the players were sort of even. My understanding looking at this, I don't know if this is a variant that you guys maybe didn't play with, but are there one-time use powers in this?
Not the way that we
Okay, so maybe this is a variant.
I mean, I don't think. I mean, unless it's referring to the cards that I was talking about, where you can spend like $3 to buy. I mean, because there were other, like, I gave one example of like you could buy the exact share, the exact tent color that you need. But there were other things you could do too. Like, I'm trying to remember. Well, maybe that's what it's referring to.
Yeah, maybe. I'm seeing here something about bandit tokens, which are like not a thing at all in Spectaculum.
Yes, those were kind of like neutral points that you were able to use, and you could use them to like deactivate. So there were like really bad things that could happen to your shares, and so you could use them to deactivate the really bad things from happening, which I did a couple of times.
So it definitely looks like an evolution from Spectaculum. So I would say that if you're interested in that, I know that was a very. Well, I don't know. It seemed to me that a lot of people were big fans of that game, the old Knizia game, Spectaculum. But I didn't, in my couple plays of it, didn't really interest me too much. So it's, for me, I'm very interested in Gold Country because it seems like the changes they made seem to be strictly better. But again, I guess it will take a seasoned Spectaculum player to let us know about that. But for me, Gold Country has piqued my, your description of Gold Country has piqued my interest for sure.
Kellen, anything to add?
No, I appreciate you guys honoring the pronunciation.
Sitting here as we're discussing Gold Country, he's sitting here looking at his 3D printer.
I told you not to talk about that.
If anybody talked to me at the con, they heard about your 3D printer.
Yeah, they heard about you complaining. I'm making you board game accessories.
No complaining. No complaining. Just maybe a little bit of complaining, mostly appreciation. And that was Gold Country.
I got a chance.
The only true and living doctor.
I got a chance to play Staked, which is a game, I guess, that came out last year. This was designed by Will DeManby, self-published by Will DeManby, who I believe is a local here. I was able to pick up a review copy from Will, so thank you for that, Will. This is a social deduction game that we played at the get-together, where you're playing some number of vampires amidst a bunch of vampire hunters who are thematically at a dinner party. And there's like a mingling phase and a dinner phase, where the mingling phase, you're basically discussing who we think the vampire is, and then there's a vote, as you get in a lot of social deduction games. This game, I think, first of all, is very quick, and also I think addresses, in a way that Blood on the Clock Tower does, where eliminated players still have agency. This is also the case with Staked. So this is a game where if you're eliminated, you become a ghost, and you can still participate in protecting players and conferring with the other ghosts on which players to protect. And there's an interesting way where information is added to the group because whichever player sort of gets the most blessings, they're called feasts in this game, or like positive votes, will become the vampire hunter, and they'll be able to secretly look at the team assignment of the player they've selected. And so I would not say it is like a revolutionary social deduction game, but I will say that it has a lot going for it. Again, the brevity of it, you play very quickly. So if you're a person who doesn't like social deduction games because you're worried that you have to be like the bad guy for a long time and hide that, it's going to be done, I would say, fairly quickly. And also, if you don't like social deduction games because once you get eliminated, you're out of it, there is a whole series of gameplay mechanisms for players who get eliminated that I think is actually interesting and will keep you engaged. So yeah, if you're into social deduction games, I think this seems to play best at somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 to 9 to 10 players. A game that I would certainly look over. I would certainly recommend people who are into that genre check it out because I think it fixes a lot of issues in other social deduction games. Neelan, what did you think of? Oh, Neelan and Kellen, you guys both played this. What did you think of Staked?
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting one where like I wanted to like it more than I did, to be honest. Like some of the premise of it I think was quite interesting. Inheriting some of the rules from Clock Tower where you have elimination but it's soft elimination, stuff like that I appreciated. Having roles that kind of switch over the course, a la like Secret Hitler where you're kind of voting on who can become what and they're getting powers over the course of the game. I liked those things. I thought our game of it fell a little bit flat, honestly, but I think it's tough in the context of having played one game of it personally, where, that game in particular, like I was on the vampire team and the vampire lord died on the first round of killing, sure. So maybe not the best way to gauge that. Yeah,
I don't know. I think like social deduction games all feel like a remix of each other, and this remix, had some clever thoughts, but like it still had a almost complete lack of information, and then started a sort of, what do they call it, Lady of the Lake sort of logic chain with one player becoming a hero by being fed the most food, which we're not going to get into the feeder nature of the game. But then once they'd been fed so much food, they got to start a Lady of the Lake logic chain. So I think some interesting ideas. I would do it again. I think it's hard in that lighter length to topple Avalon for me. And, many have tried, like Secret Hitler, and failed. But, yeah, interesting.
Better or worse than Cheese Thief?
I thought you were going to say Hamnet.
I thought about
it. Cheese Thief is a delight, 9 out of 10, easily, and the rounds are like 4 minutes long. So Cheese Thief is more like a one-night Ultimate Werewolf competitor. Yeah. So not applicable.
Better or worse than Hamnet?
Better than Hamnet. Hamnet is just very overrated. That's where we're at, everybody. I like sad movies. I love sad movies. I'm the king of sad movies. After Sun is my favorite movie ever created, and it's desperately sad. And And it's
the same lead.
What?
It's the same lead.
Same lead actor.
Oh, yeah, my boy Paul Mescal. Yeah, love him. I had no idea what you were saying.
I gotcha.
For a second, yeah. That you're happy that you short-circuited my brain?
Yeah, I don't know how, but I'm happy.
All right, fine.
That was Staked, a review copy given to us by the designer Will DeMamby.
I am going to jump in here with something that we all played together. This was on the last day. One of the things that we were trying to get together, which we spoke about in the previous episode, was our Jubentia-like game, Secret Tribe. This is by KMS Games. They are a company that are bringing Jubentia-style games, effectively, to the West. Like, this is a popular style of game in China that hasn't really quite broken big yet. They're effectively, and we were trying to unpack this a little bit after the fact, but they're effectively murder mystery type event games where everyone has a role. You're going to get a book that is your role that you read to yourself, that is just going to give you some information, some of which you're supposed to say out publicly to people, some of which you're supposed to keep secret. There's kind of the ins and outs of like your timeline, your character, their backstory, that sort of thing. And then you're going to collectively solve a puzzle together. The puzzle being, there was a murder, which of you did it? And that comes out in the form of evidence cards. You're going to draw from these different decks that represent evidence you're collecting over the course of like locations. And this is one of the most fun phases I found to me, which is effectively this collaborative storytelling, because there's no real structure to this. The book kind of says to just allocate, about 45 minutes. If you read something in your card that you think is interesting, put it on the table and sort of declare what it is. But it leads to this kind of free form phase of someone saying, well, Mark, do you want to tell us what this book means? And then Mark is in the position of having to defend himself because this book has something that he didn't think he would have to reveal to the table at that point, because you don't know what's going to be made public just based on the booklet you've read. And then Mark counters back, oh, that's interesting you say that, Neelan, because I found this, and there's there's evidence against me suddenly. And that just goes around the table, and the way that the cards are quite cleverly designed is always seems to be something that kind of bounces off of something else that someone else has done. And it's like, let's come back to this because of this card, and so on. And this is just happening until all of the cards are out. You have a wealth of evidence, and you're trying to kind of form the puzzle, the connective story of what happened based on these evidence cards. There's a lot of discussion, more cards come out, and then ultimately you're going to go at the very end of the tail end of this, after about an hour and a half of playing, 3, 2, 1, vote. Who do we think the murderer is? And then there's a conclusion and kind of a reveal of everything that happened. It's the lightest touch of role playing, but as someone that's like very role playing averse, I would say it wasn't at all a deterrent for me. Like, it's more about like inhabiting the character and kind of speaking as the character more than like what I would say is like role play. Again, like, you can do this as far off the deep end as you want to, but you certainly, if you're role play averse, shouldn't feel like that's like a big deterrent. What do you guys think of Subscribe? Oh, sorry.
I don't know if I think this is super heavy in role playing.
I'd say that. Well, I guess the reason I say that is I feel like you could lean light on that, even more so than we did, honestly.
Yeah, we were talking about how Mark gave the best performance of all of us.
Yeah.
He really leaned into it, and we were just dying the whole time. It was amazing. No spoilers, but it was amazing. But then, like, in contrast, I think some of us were a little bit more like, my character thinks this or something. You know what I mean? So I think there is a range, and it's like it worked whether somebody wanted to go all in or whether somebody wanted to be a little more distant.
Yeah, because I think like at its highest level, it could just be played like a consulting detective, right? Where you're literally going through the information. But it probably, I would say it definitely benefits from a little bit of leading into the characters.
Yeah, I think where I disagree with that, like framing, I guess, is and in the lightest spoilery way possible, right? It's like you can be both not the murderer, but also given like secondary objectives, let's call them, which are like hide some information. And I'm not going to say like what that type of information is, but like that's not almost, but it could be just entirely a role-playing exercise where all of a sudden someone's accusing you of infidelity and you're like, what the is going on here? And not true. No, and then the other mechanical thing, right, is that there are the facts that are in your booklet and then the facts that are in the cards on the table, and that the murderer is allowed to lie about the facts in their booklet. And so that's the little bit of like, because you're kind of playing, like if you're playing it in the most logic puzzly way, it's a little bit like Resistance or Blood on the Clock Tower of like, who's not trying to solve this puzzle? And again, not getting into any roles, but like I was very suspicious of Neelan just because of how he normally plays social deduction. And I was like, I don't think Homeboy is helping us enough, And again, we won't go into which character is what, but like that's the sort of social analysis that you're doing on top of the logic puzzle. I don't know. I thought it was great. I would do it again. It wasn't like my favorite thing, and I'm not convinced I understand the difference between a Jubenja and just a murder mystery. And I've like Googled it to try to like unpack the difference, but still a really fun time. I'm really glad we were able to do it.
I loved it. I can't wait to do the next one. I'm already I'm like pushing it, trying to plan the next whatever. What's the next one?
Well,
there are multiple to choose from.
I don't have another one actually, but like I'm going to make a point to get one based on our interest in maybe revisiting this. But I will say on that note though, this is extremely a one and done situation. Like you could not play this twice. Obviously it's a packaged product that has a single scenario in the box, and the box really amounts to like a very tiny box with little more than like 5 booklets and a couple of decks of cards. So like it's quite slight,
but very nicely done.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I thought it was quite, for what it was, obviously lovingly crafted. And honestly, I would say that in the way that the cards and the booklets are written and the way that the evidence connects, extremely well designed, I thought. It had a really big degree of satisfaction in seeing the ways that things connected and like being excited about the information that that we all were keeping from one another.
Yeah, this is a game that if you told me what it was about beforehand, I would have assumed that I would not like, because I sort of agree with Callan. It is sort of like, I think it has benefited a great deal by having players sort of enthusiastic about the role-playing aspect of it. I mean, this is my only experience, so I could be wrong about that, but I can envision a gameplay scenario where everybody's much more sort of like matter of fact and just like trying to share information to whatever extent they want to, because they're trying to hold stuff back. But I will say, and the other thing that sort of became apparent in our play that normally would be a negative for me was, because this is like a mystery sort of thing, the game, as Nealon said, is very well designed, but it's well designed to a point where you really can't really get your arms around anything. Like everybody, and I don't think this is a spoiler, but everybody has motives and everybody feels like they have opportunity. And even after the solution was given, it did still feel like it was sort of like a difficult thing to suss out. I think you could break it down. I think you could, scientifically figure out what's going on. But the game just very much lends itself to a opacity that I think is sort of probably required in a game like this. You do need to sort of be able to suspect everyone. I get that. But it does lead to like a less gamery experience, which is my biggest issue with games like Blood on the Clock Tower, for example, where I feel like but for whatever reason, maybe it was like the fact there's only 5 players and relatively brief, and you kind of got all your character information up front, and you could have sort of inhabit the character if you wanted to. All that led to a much more positive experience than the parts of the game would indicate to me had I gone in knowing them. So yeah, I would say for folks who are maybe like me, who like their games to be more gamery and are maybe not fans of Blood on the Clock Tower because of that, or games of that ilk, I would say give this a shot, especially if you have a group that is going to get into it. I think that really made for a very, very positive experience.
One thing I do just want to say, because this is a very, very small company, this is not available at retail. So if you're interested, Suspense Studios is the name of the people making this. So you can just order it directly from their website if that sounds like something you'd want to look into. That is Secret Tribe.
All right, so a game I wanted to cover because I was excited to play it after seeing people talk about it on the Discord was a negotiation game called Habemus Papam. Any problem with this pronunciation, Mark?
Sounds good to me.
Papam.
Kellen was initially trying to convince us that it was Popple. It was a game of, what did you say? Popple supremacy?
Oh, okay. Because you could be like Popple elect. What was it, like the Popple?
Yeah, it's papal, and you were saying Popple.
Papal.
No. But there was like papable was an option. Like if a pope was electable, they were papable.
Papable.
Yeah.
Papable is a great word.
Papable. If someone is almost the Pope, they must be
Papable.
Papable.
Yeah, but that sounds like a joke, Mark. Like, and the game is a joke in a lot of ways with the character names.
Crispy bacon.
Yeah, there is a Pope. There's a papal candidate named Chris P. Bacon.
There's another one named Christian Guy. He was very papable.
He was very stop it. And another palpable candidate literally is Christian Guy. Literally, it's just a white dude and it says Christian Guy. And there's a lot. Anyway, in this game, you are playing Conclave, the movie, or rather, you are all the cardinals fighting over who will be the next pope, a word I can say. And you are given essentially the criteria that you would most like in a pope. So are they New World or are they Old World, right? Are they old or are they young? Like how across 4 different...
Liberal or conservative?
I don't know if liberal and conservative were one of them.
You told me that was...
Well, they were all in Senex,
I came and sat down
Novator,
to play.
Venustus.
I came and sat down to play and they were like, Christina, you're the only one who wants a conservative pope.
That did happen. I think it's like, it's tough because the words are not all in English. And also, it is hard to not play the game. And I think this is intentional with some level of silliness because, you know, there were like, there's a Chinese papal candidate, pope candidate. And like, so it's like, oh, we're going to elect the first Chinese pope. And then I'm like, no, I want Christian guy to get it. And everyone looks at me like, whoa, bro, are you sure? You know, like really, it's trying to get you to have those things. But from a mechanical perspective, it's a relatively straightforward negotiation game that reminded me of Article 43, I think is the name of the game.
27.
Article 27, similar but not, where you are essentially like playing cards on different candidates or adding influence in the form of victory points to help keep your candidate around. At the end of each round, one of the candidates will go away, and then players will get money based on whoever got the most money that round and how those traits affect the traits that you are interested in a pope. And then there is there's sort of traits and then one hero affinity. Like, are you a Jesuit? Do you want a Jesuit pope or do you want a Benedict pope? And then you basically play 5 rounds of this very silly negotiation game to elect a pope. And the game could end at any of these rounds, of which there are only 5. That was probably my favorite part of the game, is that if ever someone got 2/3 of the votes of the influence, the game would end and they would become the pope. And there was a fun little hat, a piece of cardboard that you'd put on the card if someone became papable, as in they had 2/3 of the votes. And Mark was like, why are you putting the hat on this person? And I'm like, bro, they have 2/3 of the vote. They're papable.
I just thought it was very important to be careful with the hat. I didn't want to put the hat on too early.
And then what happens in the 5th round is you only need a majority of the votes. So the like win condition goes down. So there were a couple times where one of us got close to like doing something crazy in the round to try to just like force it through. But it was tough because, you know, as Christina mentioned, 3 of the 4 players were really interested in a couple of key characteristics, and she was not interested in those characteristics. She was interested in the opposite characteristic. Also, everyone had secret end of game conditions. And I would say half of the BGG forum is just people arguing about how the game isn't balanced and how, like, whether we need to draft the upfront stuff, and then the designer basically defending the game and saying it's balanced on the table, bro. Just play the game, bro. I don't know. It was fun. I think I had the most fun, so I'm curious to hear what other folks thought. But I wished it was a smidgen shorter, and it's definitely more in the party game realm than anything. And it's quite on the nose. I don't know. It was like there's like a papal candidate like watching like climate change protesters, and like the card action is just like kind of like f- 'em. It isn't them, but like that's the sentiment.
It's f*** 'em in Italian.
Yeah, well, it might be. It could be Latin. We don't know what half these words are.
Facum.
What did you guys all think of Habemus?
My only advice for this game is don't get dealt the card where you're the only player of 4 players that wants a conservative young New World pope.
Yeah, I sort of agree with
Strat Chat.
I sort of agree with Christina. This was on my most anticipated list, so I was very, very, very excited to get this to the table. And yeah, I mean, with all due respect to the designer, and I haven't actually looked at his replies on the forums. I know Kellen has, as he just mentioned. It did feel like she just got drawn a very, very tough hand to start the game, and then I know that the idea is that if a player is outwardly weak or in a weak position, then they can be ignored and they can sort of like sneak in and take advantage when other players are focused on each other. But she just felt like it's such a bad position from the get-go. And this is a game that I think I ended up winning pretty handily. My score was pretty high. And so normally, obviously, I'd be more inclined to like it. But I found that part of it. And the end game scoring cards, the hidden objectives, seemed pretty wildly, again, imbalanced, in my opinion. I guess I could be wrong, and I'd be interested in checking out the forum discussions, but it just felt like you could start off in a really tough spot, and you could be dealt a really tough, or really good, in my case. I got dealt a very good endgame scoring card, and so that sort of let the air out of the balloon for me in terms of really enjoying the experience.
Yeah, I think that like one of the things that Christina and I struggled with in particular was like getting our heads around like the income system early on, to the extent that we kind of just felt locked out of a lot of like our ability to influence the game fairly early. And this is a game where if you have money early on, then your ability to influence being able to get more money later is pretty significant. So kind of rough, and not to say that's necessarily the game's fault, but it is a game where you can maybe feel like you're getting locked out fairly early. And then you add to that the fact that, Mark drew the card that says double your money if you're able to do this particular thing. There just felt like a lot of big swings in this that didn't necessarily land for me, although I like the premise of it a lot.
Yeah, so that's one that I would play again, but I just, amidst the sea of hundreds and hundreds of games, I don't know when I would return to it, given that I was the most excited about it and still, I don't know. I know this game has its fans, and I love negotiation stuff, so that's the part that got me. And it's listed at 45 to 60 minutes on BGG, and maybe if you're playing it at that speed and it's just basically a party game. Yeah. It's a party, I don't know. Habemus, Papam, a lot of fun things to laugh about. But I do think some people will be offended by it for what it's worth. I don't know. It struck me as
irreverent.
For the theme.
Yeah.
For the theme. Yeah. I don't know. We had fun. We laughed. We screamed at each other. And Christina got the most.
To your point, though, it was a short game. It was
2 hours for us, I think.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Huh. It actually didn't feel that long for me, which is good, I guess. Speaking of laughing, we played a game many times called 3 Chapters. And maybe we didn't even play it that many times, but we said 3 chapters the whole con. Was that not the phrase of the con?
No, it was. It was very important to know which chapter you were in. There was constantly checking back in to make sure everybody knew which chapter we were in.
Unfortunately, this joke is also on Kellen because for some reason the way he taught this game, everyone was really confused about the chapters.
It's so easy. It's the game is not phases. The game has 3 chapters. Those chapters are very straightforward. What is it? Isn't it
It's like what does it say on the box?
It's the box choose score. It's choose play score. If your game has 3 chapters and those are the chapters.
And chapter 3 score.
That is, it's Mark's 2-phase thing that he loves. This is 3 chapters, but one of the chapters is setup and one of the chapters is score.
Oh, your point.
I cannot believe they named this game 3 chapters. I cannot believe it.
Once upon a time, there was a magical book of fairy tales that had 3 chapters.
You're me. This is on the thing.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm not going to read it anymore. I thought it was funny. Okay, so this is a trick-taking game. And it says...
In the loosest sense of trick-taking. There's one suit in this game.
True. The main thing you're doing in this game is you're playing a fairy tale game. Because chapter 1, you are drafting your ideal grouping of character cards. And each card will tell you how to earn points. And during which chapter you will be earning those points, which is a big point of confusion for all of us. For example, you might find Pinocchio, and in order to score points with Pinocchio, you must also have Geppetto? Geppetto. You must also have Geppetto either in hand at the end of the game, which is, by the way, chapter 3, or in play during a trick with another player, which is chapter 2. To be very clear, there's only one phase of trick-taking in this game, and that's
you guys
chapter
thought there
2.
were 6.
We thought there were 3 chapters.
It's so clear. It's so obvious. Okay, there are 3 chapters. You choose cards, and you play them, and then you score them. 1, 2, 3.
3 chapters.
The only good thing about this, this game is highly reviewed. We were kind of in shock. Is that it's fun because you can combo off of other people's drafted cards in phase 2. So some of the cards have powers that are applicable in either chapter 2 or chapter 3.
And often both.
And often both, but you would have to have the card. The thing that's weird is that basically chapter 1 and chapter 3, chapter 2 happens independently of the other chapter. It's not chronological. Literally you could do chapter 1, chapter 3, and then do chapter 2. There'd be no difference to the game because you keep all your cards from chapter 1 for chapter 3. Anyway, none of this matters. This works really poorly at 3 players. in my opinion. Like really
But it was fun at 4 players.
I think the higher you go, the more fun you have.
Right, because then you're able to combo, or you have more opportunities to combo. For example, your card might say, gain a gem for every pickaxe that you see out on the table. Or it doesn't say out on the table, but for every pickaxe. And so then if you play it with, 6 other players, I actually don't know if it goes that high. Does it go that high?
Yes.
Okay, if you play it with 6 other players, you're much more likely to find some pickaxes on the table during that trick. So, and there's some fun like strategy. Well, I don't know how many fun strategies there are. For example, Kellen decided like, I'm just going to draft all high cards and also draft the card that gives you like double points for winning tricks or something like that. Isn't that true?
Yes. And
so that's crazy.
Destroyed in a 3-player game.
That's an absolutely broken strategy.
In a 3-player game.
The fact that you could do that. So anyways, it was fun. What'd you guys think?
Yeah, I thought it was okay. It reminded me of Fantasy Realms. I think that's not a original thought, and relatively quick. And it was, the draft is fun. And again, if this game was 50% longer, it would be a much different experience, I think. But with how quick it is and how simple it is, this is a trick taker with only one suit. It's just so quick that I think it's fine. It's fine.
Inoffensive.
Inoffensive for sure.
Yeah, I think it's a perfectly fine filler game that I enjoyed playing.
Yeah.
I definitely agree that it would have been a lot better with more players. Although, mind you, I did think I did play a game with more players, and it was better. So the fact that it's a game that you can sort of barrel through the rules really quickly and get played in like 15 minutes, lovely, if that.
That's 3 chapters.
And finally, I've already thanked Kellen once for backing me on the totally human question I mentioned earlier, but I want to thank him again for this next game I'm going to talk about, because he's the one who recommended I try it after he tried it. So a big thank you to user Kevin, known as Evil Lemons on our Discord, who brought this game. This is called...
the caveat for that coming in a little bit.
Yes, there is a caveat coming. So we thank Kevin with one hand and we are going to scold him with the other. But the game in question is Banana Governance. This is a game designed by a Japanese designer named Mukai, self-published. And the way that Banana Governance works is it is a 2-phase game. So Kellen already knew that it was going to be probably up my alley just on that alone. The way it works is you are dealt a number of cards. These cards are representing bananas. You are I forget what the backstory is, but you are sort of trying to...
backstory?
Yeah, the theme. Banana Governance, you want to have a theme. I'm not going to... This is not a themeless game. So you are balancing your bananas and your monkeys while staying away from birds. This will make somewhat more sense, hopefully, when I explain it. But you're dealt basically a number of cards. You are going to separate the cards. Now, the way you're supposed to play it is you are supposed to sort of Bonanza style not rearrange your cards, or Luxor, I guess, in the end, did this. And you're supposed to separate the cards as they sort of like lay in your hand, as they're sort of dealt to you. The way we played it was we could rearrange it, but that ended up being an error. But so you have a hand of cards you're dealt. You separate them into 4 piles. You pass the piles over to the player to your left. They pick a pile, pass, pick a pile, pass, pick a pile, until you get what would be assumed to be the worst of the 4 piles you've set out when they're passed along. And every player is doing this. So in the end, you end up with 4 piles that you've picked from other players' hands. So these piles are mostly, again, bananas, which are a victory point multiplier, but also the currency for the second half of the game. The second half of the game is there are 3 monkey cards dealt out. They are varying from, I think, 2 or maybe 10 to 30 points.
30.
Yep, with 1 bird card. So every round in the second phase, there are going to be a number of monkey cards, which are getting positive points, and then 1 bird card, which is something you don't want to have. And there is a unique bidding mechanic there where you are putting down a bid. So of the banana cards you've received, you're putting a bid down, whatever that bid number is. So say I bid 2 bananas on my first go around. When it comes back to me, the way we played it, the way we were taught by Kevin, so this is the scolding part coming out. We were taught by Kevin that you have to always increase your bid. So when it came around to me, I didn't have to really pay attention in terms of what I could bid to what the other players were bidding. I just needed to exceed my current bid. So if I bid 2 bananas the first go around, I could only bid more than that the next go around. The way you're supposed to play it is you have to equal or exceed. So whatever. And so you bid in this sort of unique way where the way that you can continue bidding is based on equaling or exceeding your bid at the time. And you keep doing that until everybody drops out. So there's like a strategy here, a strategy consideration where, if you bid your 20, which is the highest value currency, 20 bananas is the highest value currency. If you bid that early, you might scare off a lot of people because they don't want to necessarily continue bidding in a circumstance where somebody's bid high early. But you're also limiting your subsequent bids because you can only now bid 20s. You can only bid the highest value card. So it's very interesting in terms of the way the bidding works. And you keep doing that until everybody has passed, and then you reassess, okay, who has bid the most bananas cumulatively, they get the first pick, and then whoever has bid second gets second pick, all the way to the person who's bid the least, they get the bird, which is going to be negative points at the end of the game. That's basically the way the game works. I loved this game. I absolutely love this game. I mean, I only played it once and I taught it another time. Again, because of Kevin, I taught it the wrong way. And there is a part of me, sorry, Kevin, it's true. He knows it's true. And there's a part of me that is that is worried that if I play the game the right way, I won't like it as much. However, if that ends up being the case, I don't think so. I think it's actually going to be better.
I don't think that.
Yeah, I think it's going to.
I actually think it could only be improved by playing.
Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that. But the thing is, who cares? Because if it ends up being better the way that I taught it, I'm just going to be the marked variant. I'm just going to try to make it an official variant. Anyhow, I thought this game was phenomenal. I think if I had to do the top 50, if we did the top 50 games of all time, I think this would be a top 50 game for me. I just absolutely loved it. I would implore anybody who happens to know Mukai, the designer, because this game is impossible to get and impossible to find. If you can get him to email us at boardgamebarrage@gmail.com and tell me how I can get a copy of this game, I'm being serious. Get Mukai to get a hold of me because I want a copy of this game. Because if not, I'm going to
go to any lengths.
I will go to any lengths. That's true. That's true. This game is, if you have liked my description of games like Arboretum or Biblios or these really tough, agonizing card games, if you like those kind of games, I implore you to seek out. You won't be successful, so it kind of sucks. But I implore you to seek out Banana Governance because I think it's phenomenal. I loved it. And so if Mukai doesn't get a hold of me soon and I can't get a copy somewhere, I am proxying this game because it's just so good. So yeah, this was by far my game of the con.
It basically is everything you do is painful and you're always getting got, Yeah,
exactly.
And then the theme with the I think they're cockatiels, or I don't know what kind of birds they are, but the stupid birds, you just don't want them,
right?
And they're just looking at you,
right?
You're trying to get bananas and monkeys and these weird, there's a weird charm to it as well, as being super rock solid in the just wow, we're getting no matter what we do,
right?
Game.
Right.
I really liked it.
And somebody is going to pay a lot of money for a bird, which is a negative multiplier.
That's right.
Oh yeah, I know. When you bid a bunch and then you still
get stuck with the bird. Yeah,
that's terrifying.
It is terrifying. Yeah, I loved this too. I think we all really loved this. It was not to detract from this game, but it was also a con of bananas. There were a lot of bananas that
true.
We talked about. We had game bananas, non-game bananas, and they were all great. But yes, this was the best of the bananas.
When you guys left, I had a banana and Nutella to celebrate.
That's to celebrate
or to mourn.
Actually,
I guess mourn is better.
Mourn, yeah.
I mourned with my banana and Nutella.
Okay. We can't end this without me just saying about our game of Hellapagos. Listen,
Let's do it.
I don't brag often. I'll pause for the laughter. But we played a game of Hellapagos, which is a semi-cooperative game where you're supposed to be getting water, getting supplies, getting wood, and helping everybody escape the island. But you can also be very selfish and acquire items. And let me just say this. There's never been a game where I just took the game, did whatever I wanted, and just my agency was just exerted all over the game, all over all of you. No one got out of it. Most people didn't get out of it alive. It got to this point where we went around, I took stuff, we went around. I had a handful of bullets and shields to protect me from getting shot. And like
And he kept asking everyone, do you have a gun?
Do you have a gun?
Do you have a gun?
Do you have a gun? And then someone winked at me, and that became my ally, and you guys murdered him. Okay? He got murdered, and so then you guys all voted to murder the wrong guy because
we voted out the murderer because he had guns.
Well, there's no murderer in this
but
game.
we hadn't considered. Well, yeah, he shot someone, so he was a murderer. But then we hadn't considered that his gun would pass to Kellen.
Literally,
and then seconds after Kellen received this gun, he shoots Neelan, and I had immediately passed Neelan my bullet card because I thought maybe Neelan had a gun.
And then that bullet card passed to me. Listen, the chain of events.
And then he murdered me.
No. All within like 2 minutes time. I murdered Neelan. I resurrected my one friend. I shot Christina. Did I shoot Mark? Did you get shot?
No, you saved Mark.
Mark, me. You were you were left. Did I shoot Cameron?
You did shoot Cameron, yeah.
We only had 3 life votes. Otherwise, Cameron could have come. Literally, in like 2.5 minutes, the person I wanted was resurrected. Everyone else was murdered, and we're all like, well, I guess we're leaving this island. We've won. And we were like 1/5 of the way into this game, and like literally I had not done anything but collect for myself for like 4 rounds. I like felt bad. Like I was like literally like it must have been like the worst. Listen, of all time, I have never just been like, this is my game. I could not believe the game let me do this. You all were just there to witness it.
It was a bloodbath. It was certainly a bloodbath.
True.
That's Hellapagos, a very good game that I'm sure you all now want to play. Semi-co-op.
I mean, I thought it was hilarious. I think it's like if you want to do semi-co-op really quickly and you don't mind things being rough, it seemed like a pretty good fit.
Yeah, I thought it was very fun. I wanted to play again because we got so destroyed.
Right.
I wanted to know what a real game of Hellapagos was.
What was it like, Neelan? You were the one who was like so quick or whatever. Like after I shot you, like you thought because you had a gun and a bullet. Right?
Yeah,
you just thought you had more time.
I had some bullets. I had a bullet that I had from the start, and then I got a gun I think from the neighbor that died, and then Christina passed me a bullet, which I at that point I didn't actually need because I had one in hand already. But it was still like this little bit of like, well, I'm not going to shoot Callan right away. I sort of waited a little bit, and then within
like
2 seconds,
about it.
Yeah, within 2 seconds, Callan's like, I shoot Neelan. Okay.
It was really funny because I think Neelan and I both had the same thought. Like as fast as I could, I passed Neelan my bullet, but then like I kind of hesitated. We kind of looked at each other, and there was this like understanding, like, well, obviously, don't shoot him like right away. Right. That would be so mean. We like have to give him the benefit of the doubt, And then he shoots Neelan.
I could not believe how well that went. Genuinely, it was
ridiculous.
Well, I think Neelan, you were trying to rules check like whether you could shoot me back or whatever, like in the moment. But it was like
question of like,
because I had said I shoot Neelan.
Yeah.
Like they're like, nope, you're done.
Yeah, it's one of the not rare cases, I guess, but it's one of those fun cases where no, the first person that says it does that action, no questions asked. Like, yeah,
so stupid.
So that is going to do it for the show and our review of Dice Tower West. If you were there, let us know. Let us know what games you enjoyed the most. There's a lot of talk about that already, so you can check that out on our Discord in the podcast channel or in the Dice Tower West channel. Those 2 channels have been highlighting the games we've been playing. You can write to us at boardgamebarrage@gmail.com. If you're Makai, or if you know Makai, have him write to me at boardgamebarrage@gmail.com and let me know where you can get a copy of his game, because again, I am, to repeat, very desperate to get my hands on it. You can find us on all forms of social media.
One quick thing before we move on. This is your last chance to submit your lists for the Board Game Barrage Listener Top 20. I'm going to be closing submissions for that this Sunday, March 29th. So please make sure you get your lists in before that. You can head over to boardgamebarrage.com/top20 for instructions on how to do that.
Thank you, as always, to Heart Society for our intro and outro song, What's on Your Mind, Kid? And until next time, we played a bunch of games.
A bunch of games.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.